The battlefield was quiet in the way only failure could make it quiet. Carvos 9 stretched beneath the human frigate like a scar that refused to heal. Blackened soil steamed faintly where orbital fire had melted rock into glass. Twisted hull fragments lay half-buried, their once proud insignias scorched beyond recognition. Automated coalition drones crawled methodically across the terrain, tagging wreckage, cataloging losses, erasing evidence of a battle no one wanted remembered. Captain Elias Rourke stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the tactical display. No active hostiles. No survivors logged. The war was already written up as concluded. Final sweep in progress, Lieutenant Hale reported. Coalition channels confirm full withdrawal. We're clear to disengage whenever you give the word. Rourke didn't answer immediately. He had learned, over years of service, that the end of a battle rarely meant the end of consequences. His gaze lingered on the planet below, on a sector the drones had not yet reached. Run a deeper bioscan, he said. Hale hesitated. Sir, coalition doctrine. I know the doctrine, Rourke replied, calm but firm. Run it. The scanner hummed, its parameters pushing past standard limits. For several seconds, nothing changed. Then a soft tone sounded. Captain, Hale said slowly. I've got a signal. Rourke stepped closer. Source? Sector 9 Delta. Under collapsed debris. Biological. Weak, but still alive. The bridge fell quiet. What species? Someone asked. Hale's fingers moved quickly. Cross-referencing coalition logs. Designation KX-17. Shock unit. Bioengineered assault asset. Rourke exhaled through his nose. A war beast. Yes, sir. Hale's voice tightened. Status marked as irrecoverable. Rourke stared at the designation. He'd seen similar tags before. Different species. Same outcome. Send us down, he said. The dropship cut through the thin atmosphere, its thrusters kicking up ash as it settled near the debris field. Rourke was the first out, boots crunching over shattered stone. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone. No wind. No sound. Even the drones kept their distance, their programming complete. The signal led them to a collapsed ridge where twisted plating and broken artillery lay piled together. It took minutes of careful lifting to uncover the source. The creature lay on its side, massive even in stillness. 6 limbs, each armored with natural plating reinforced by metal grafts. Its hide was torn in multiple places, dark blood dried against the ash. One eye was closed, the other barely open, unfocused. A collar ringed its thick neck. Cracked. Disabled. Jesus, one of the medics muttered. Rourke crouched slowly, keeping his movements deliberate. The creature's chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths. It's alive, the medic said, scanning. Barely. Multiple fractures. Internal bleeding. Neural trauma. Rourke's eyes went to the collar. Recall beacon? Removed, Hale said. Cut clean. Abandoned. The creature shifted suddenly, a low sound rumbling from deep within its chest. One claw twitched, scraping weakly against the stone. It knows we're here, the medic said. Sir, if it panics. It won't, Rourke said quietly. He reached out, palm open, stopping just short of contact. The creature's open eye focused, just for a moment. There was no feral rage there. No programmed aggression. Only confusion. And something else. Recognition. Rourke had seen that look before, in civilians pulled from rubble, in soldiers left behind after bad calls. The moment someone realizes they were not worth coming back for. Coalition left it, Hale said, disbelief creeping into his voice. They just walked away. They didn't walk, Rourke replied. They calculated. He stood, turning to the crew. Prep extraction. The protest came immediately. Sir, with respect, Hale said, this thing is classified equipment. Taking it violates compact law. We could be sanctioned. Arrested. Rourke met his gaze. Is it sentient? The medic swallowed. Neural complexity suggests yes. High-level cognition. Emotional processing. Then it's not equipment, Rourke said. It's wounded. Another low sound came from the creature, louder this time. Its limbs shifted, trying to pull itself upright. Pain rippled through its body, visible even without a scanner. A coalition drone suddenly activated nearby, its sensors locking onto the movement. A warning tone sounded. Automated defense protocol. Hale snapped. It'll tag the asset for termination. Before anyone could react, the creature moved. Despite shattered limbs and failing strength, it twisted its body toward the drone, placing itself between the humans and the machine. Its stance was unsteady, but deliberate. Protective. The drone fired. Rourke didn't think. He moved. Human rifles barked, precision shots tearing through the drone before it could recalibrate. The machine collapsed in a shower of sparks. The creature let out a sharp, startled sound, then slumped, its strength finally gone. Rourke dropped to one knee beside it. Easy, he said, voice low. You're safe. We've got you. The eye focused again, clearer this time. The creature didn't understand the words. But it understood the tone. The medics moved quickly, stabilizing what they could. Anti-grav harnesses locked into place, lifting the massive form with care. As they worked, Hale leaned closer to Rourke. Sir, this changes things. Rourke watched the creature's slow breathing, the rise and fall that proved it still clung to life. It already changed, he said. The moment they left it. The dropship lifted off under a darkening sky. Below, Car Voss 9 returned to silence, its final casualty no longer alone. Mid-ascent, the ship's comm panel chimed. Captain, Hale said grimly. Coalition command pinging us. Priority channel. Rourke straightened. Put it through. The hologram flickered to life, displaying a faceless emblem. Human vessel, the voice said coldly. You are in possession of Coalition military property. Return the asset immediately. Rourke looked back at the medbay feed, where the creature lay restrained but alive. No, he said. A pause. You are defying compact authority. Rourke's jaw tightened. We're honoring something more basic. The channel cut. Alarms sounded as the frigate jumped to hyperspace, leaving the battlefield, and Coalition doctrine behind. In the medbay, the creature stirred faintly as the stars stretched into light. For the first time since it had been created, it was not alone. The medbay lights dimmed automatically as the frigate settled into hyperspace. Soft white replaced the harsh surgical glow, a human choice meant to calm patients who could understand it. Whether it would help a wounded alien war beast was uncertain, but no one changed the setting. The creature lay restrained on the central platform, its massive chest rising unevenly. Biomonitor lines pulsed across the display, flickering between stable and alarming. Layers of armored hide had been cut away to expose torn muscle and fractured bone. Even sedated, it twitched at unfamiliar sounds. Dr. Anika Varma wiped her gloves against her sleeve and exhaled slowly. It's fighting the anesthetic, she said. Your response is complicated. Meaning? Captain Rourke asked, standing at the foot of the platform. Meaning it's been conditioned to resist sedation, she replied. Pain compliance protocols. Whoever built this thing didn't want it going down easily. As if in response, the creature's limbs tensed, restraints creaking. A low, distressed sound vibrated through its chest. Hey, Rourke said softly, stepping closer. You're not under attack. Varma glanced at him. Captain, I wouldn't. He stopped just short of touching the creature, lowering himself until his eyes were level with its open one. Up close, the eye was startlingly expressive. Not wild. Not empty. Tracking. You're safe, he repeated, steady and slow. No one's leaving you here. The sound faded. The tension in the creature's body eased by a fraction. Varma stared at the monitors. Vitals stabilizing, she murmured. That's not supposed to happen. Rourke straightened. What's the damage? She gestured to the display. Multiple internal ruptures. Old scars layered under fresh trauma. This one's been through several deployments. They patched it up just enough to throw it back in. And when it broke for good, Hale said quietly from the doorway, they cut it loose. Varma nodded. They disabled the obedience collar before abandoning it. That's standard. Prevents retrieval by enemy forces. Or by conscience, Rourke said. The doctor hesitated, then reached up and loosened one restraint. I don't like keeping sentient patients tied down longer than necessary. The creature's eye flicked to her hand. Muscles bunched, then relaxed. It didn't lash out. Hale shifted uneasily. You're sure that's wise? Varma didn't look away from the creature. It hasn't tried to harm anyone since we brought it aboard. Every aggressive response so far has been defensive. Rourke watched closely. Go on. The restraint slid free. Nothing happened. A few minutes later, the creature's breathing evened out. The monitor steadied. That's trust, Varma said under her breath. Or the beginning of it. Hours passed in careful increments. The crew rotated quietly through the med bay, drawn by curiosity they didn't voice. Repairs were underway elsewhere, but this room had become the ship's center of gravity. Varma pulled up a neural scan and froze. Captain, she said slowly, you need to see this. Rourke leaned in. Complex neural pathways lit the display, far beyond the patterns expected from a simple bioweapon. This isn't a controlled response system, she continued. This is adaptive cognition, learning capacity, emotional mapping. Hale frowned. Coalition classified it as semi-sentient. Varma shook her head. That classification is a lie. They knew. They just didn't care. The creature stirred, a faint sound escaping its throat. Rourke felt something tighten in his chest. What do we call it? One of the younger crew asked quietly. Rourke glanced at the massive form, then at the scarred collar resting on a tray nearby. A designation burned into its metal surface, KX-17. That's not a name, he said. Varma smiled faintly. No. It isn't. Another medic, Torres, tilted his head. Looks like a Brutus to me. A few crew members chuckled under their breath. Brutus, Rourke repeated, testing the sound. What do you think? He didn't expect a response. He got one anyway. The creature's eye focused sharply. Its head shifted a few centimeters, the movement deliberate despite the pain. A low sound followed, different from the earlier distress. Curious. Acknowledging. Varma's eyes widened. It recognized that. Rourke felt a slow, quiet certainty settle in his gut. Brutus it is. The moment fractured when the comm panel chimed. Captain, Hale said grimly, tapping the display. Coalition priority channel. Again. Rourke didn't look away from Brutus. Put it through. The hologram resolved into the angular form of a coalition envoy. No eyes. No expression. You are harboring coalition military property, the envoy said. Return the asset immediately. It has a name, Rourke replied. And it's not going anywhere. A pause. Then colder. Your species' emotional interference is noted. Non-compliance will result in sanctions and possible detention. Hale leaned closer. Sir, they're serious. Rourke nodded once. So am I. He stepped closer to the platform as the channel cut. Brutus shifted, placing its massive head nearer to him. Not touching. Just close. It knows something's wrong, Varma said softly. Rourke rested his hand against the platform beside Brutus' head. Yeah, he said. So do we. The frigate continued its silent run through hyperspace, carrying a creature the galaxy had discarded. And for the first time since its creation, Brutus listened not for commands, but for voices that meant it no harm. The tribunal world of Virex Station was built to intimidate. Its halls were wide and colorless, walls polished to a sterile sheen that reflected nothing personal. Every surface spoke of order, of rules enforced without exception. As the human frigate docked, armed coalition sentries took position in precise formation, weapons angled just enough to be noticed. Captain Elias Rourke stepped onto the platform first. His posture was calm, his expression unreadable. Behind him, 2 medics guided Brutus forward on reinforced restraints, not shackles. The distinction mattered to Rourke, even if no one else acknowledged it. Whispers rippled through the gathered observers. "That's it," one alien delegate murmured. "That's the asset?" Brutus halted, massive frame steady despite lingering injuries. Its head turned slightly, scanning the unfamiliar space. When a sentry shifted too close, Brutus moved with subtle intent, placing itself half a step in front of Rourke. Protective. Not aggressive. The main chamber doors slid open with a low, resonant hum. Inside, the tribunal awaited. High Strategist Vrailthes occupied the central dais, elongated form draped in ceremonial plating. His eyes, narrow and reflective, fixed on the humans with detached interest. "Captain Elias Rourke," Vrailthes said, voice smooth and amplified. "You stand accused of unauthorized extraction, theft of coalition military property, and obstruction of post-conflict protocol." Rourke inclined his head. "Acknowledged." Brutus remained silent. "The asset designated KX-17 is to be returned," Vrailthes continued. "Its continued operation under human custody is inefficient and destabilizing." "It's injured," Rourke replied. "And sentient." A faint ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. "Sentience," Vrailthes said, "is a spectrum. Function determines classification. KX-17 functions as a weapon." Rourke activated his wrist display. A hologram flared to life, projecting battlefield footage. The moment of abandonment. The disabled collar. The creature shielding humans from the drone. "This is not a malfunction," Rourke said. "This is choice." The strategist glanced at the image, unimpressed. "Conditioned response. Then explain why it acted after the conditioning was removed." Silence followed. Brief. Measured. Vrailthes shifted his gaze to Brutus. "Asset," he said, tone sharp. "Stand down." Brutus did nothing. A murmur spread through the delegates. "The command phrase has been disabled," one technician whispered. "By your forces," Rourke said. "When you left it to die." Vrailthes' eyes narrowed. "Your species places excessive value on individual anomalies. This creature was designed to absorb damage and delay enemy advance. It fulfilled its purpose." Rourke's voice hardened. "Purpose doesn't erase suffering." The strategist lifted a slender appendage. "Enough. The tribunal will repossess the asset immediately." 2 retrieval officers advanced, carrying Eurocontrol rigs. Brutus tensed. Rourke stepped forward. "Don't." The officers ignored him. The first reached for the restraint harness. Brutus moved. Not fast. Not violently. Precisely. One officer was lifted and set down several meters away, unharmed but disarmed. The second froze as Brutus positioned itself between him and the humans, head lowered, eyes locked. A warning rumble filled the chamber. Weapons powered up across the room. "Hold!" Rourke shouted. Brutus remained still, breathing heavy but controlled. Its gaze flicked to Rourke, waiting. "See?" Rourke said, slowly turning to the tribunal. "If it wanted violence, this room would already be silent." Vrailthes studied the scene, calculating. "Impressive restraint," he admitted. "For a beast." "For an ally," Rourke corrected. The strategist made a subtle gesture. The sentries lowered their weapons by a fraction. "Your argument," Vrailthes said, "rests on emotional interpretation. The compact does not govern sentiment." "No," Rourke replied. "It governs outcomes." He nodded to Hale, who activated a second projection. Combat simulations filled the chamber. 2 scenarios played side by side. One showed coalition forces deploying controlled war beasts. High losses. Predictable failure points. The other showed human units fighting alongside Brutus. Adaptive movement. Shared cover. Coordinated defense. Casualty projections dropped sharply. The difference, Rourke said, is cooperation. Delegates leaned forward, interest overriding doctrine. This creature fights better when it's not treated as expendable, Rourke continued. Not because we control it. Because it trusts us. Vrailth's gaze sharpened. Trust is unreliable. So is fear, Rourke said. The strategist leaned back, considering. For the first time, uncertainty crossed his expression. You propose, Vrailth said carefully, that mercy improves efficiency. I propose, Rourke answered, that recognizing loyalty creates it. Brutus shifted closer to Rourke, massive head lowering beside him. The gesture was unmistakable. A delegate spoke from the side tiers. If this precedent spreads, it will, Rourke said quietly. Because others will see the results. Vrailth rose, towering over the chamber. This tribunal will recess. Gasps echoed. The compact is not prepared for this deviation. The strategist continued. But neither can it ignore demonstrated advantage. The lights dimmed slightly as systems powered down. Rourke exhaled, tension easing from his shoulders. Brutus remained at his side, steady and unyielding. As the delegates filed out, whispers followed them. Not of condemnation. Of possibility. The cost of mercy had been brought into the open. And the galaxy would never quite close that door again. The verdict came without ceremony. No banners. No declarations of moral awakening. Just a measured ruling delivered in a voice trained to strip decisions of emotion. The tribunal recognizes procedural irregularities. High Strategist Vrailth announced, his image projected across the chamber. However, immediate repossession of the entity designated KX-17 is suspended. A ripple passed through the assembled delegates. Captain Elias Rourke did not move. He waited. Human Command will retain custody under provisional classification, Vrailth continued. Operational restrictions will apply. Sanctions will follow. Rourke inclined his head. Understood. The strategist's gaze lingered on Brutus, who stood unmoving at Rourke's side. This decision does not constitute recognition of sentience, Vrailth added. Nor does it alter coalition doctrine. No, Rourke said evenly. It just proves doctrine can bend. The channel cut. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Hale let out a breath he'd been holding far too long. We're not going to prison. Not today, Varma replied. Brutus shifted slightly, as if sensing the tension ebb. The chamber felt smaller without the threat of immediate violence. Still hostile. Still wary. But changed. They escorted Brutus back through the wide corridors of Virex Station. Sentries watched, hands close to weapons, yet none intervened. Whispers followed them, no longer dismissive. Curious. Uneasy. Once aboard the frigate, the doors sealed with a familiar hiss. The ship felt warmer than before, as if relieved. Engineering reported systems nominal. Navigation confirmed departure clearance. Only then did Rourke allow himself to sit. Varma leaned against the bulkhead, arms crossed. They'll make an example of us. Rourke nodded. They always do. What kind? Operational limits. Fewer resources. Missions no one wants. He looked at Brutus. We've been there before. Brutus lowered its head slightly, a slow, deliberate motion. Not submission. Acknowledgement. Later, the official notice arrived. Human forces were barred from coalition-led assaults. Restricted from shared command structures. Placed under ethical observation. Torres read the last line aloud, incredulous. Emotional risk factor. Hale snorted. That's a new one. Rourke folded the display and slipped it into his pocket. We'll adapt. In the med bay, Varma removed the last of Brutus' restraints. The creature tested its weight, favoring injured limbs but standing on its own. "You don't have to stay," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. Brutus tilted its head, studying her. Then it turned toward the open hatch leading deeper into the ship. Toward the humans. Coalition Command tried once more. A revised offer. Improved maintenance. Controlled autonomy. Reintegration under reformed oversight. Rourke listened in silence, then cut the channel. "They still don't get it," Hales said. "No," Rourke replied. "They never learned what loyalty costs." He knelt in front of Brutus, bringing himself eye level again. "This is your choice," he said. "No orders. No collars." Brutus studied him for a long moment. Then, with quiet certainty, it stepped forward and sat. The decision was made. Rourke logged the update himself. Designation Brutus. Status Voluntary Ally. Operational role Joint Deployment. Control authority None. The system flagged it as invalid. He overrode it. The frigate departed Virex station under watchful sensors. Somewhere behind them, doctrine strained under its own rigidity. News traveled fast. Not official reports. Stories. A war beast that refused retrieval. Humans who accepted punishment without protest. A creature that fought harder when treated as more than a tool. On fringe worlds and quiet outposts, questions began to surface. What else had they abandoned? What else might choose differently if given the chance? Weeks later, the frigate received a new assignment. A border evacuation. Civilian extraction under hostile conditions. High risk. Low priority. Rourke read the briefing, then looked up. "Suits us." Brutus stood nearby, armored hide newly reinforced, scars still visible. Not hidden. Earned. As the dropship prepped for descent, Hale glanced at the creature. "You ready?" Brutus' response was simple. It stepped forward, placing itself at the head of the ramp. Rourke smiled faintly. The ramp lowered. Smoke and distant fire filled the air below. Humans moved out first, weapons ready. Brutus followed, massive and steady, matching their pace. No commands were spoken. They advanced together. Behind them, far above the battlefield, the galaxy continued to argue definitions. Down here, none of that mattered. What mattered was who stayed when leaving was easier. And the humans stayed.